Welcome to another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. Grab your popcorn, grab your drink, the kids, call your neighbor, call your friends, your auntie, your nene, your uncle, your nieces and nephews. Tell them that Simon Says is on. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. First, let you know that today we're going to have a guest, and he'll come on later. Very interesting gentleman. So prepare for that. To begin, on Wednesday, the 4th of June, 2025, I attended what was advertised as the first weekly press conference of the NDC administration/party. No, that's me putting in administration/party there because they advertise it as party. You understand why I put administration with it. Now, let's see the first clip.
This morning, the National Democratic Congress is hosting its first weekly press conference where we would engage you, the general public, through the media and talk a little about our major achievements, talk about some of the things that we have been able to successfully achieve as manifesto promises, and also dive into the happenings of the party.
One time there, you picked up that is administration and party. But the party has nothing to be proud of, really. So, with NDC, there's never a clear-cut line between the party and the administration. And you've seen me on here struggling with that for many times. Many times. We have no idea. There's no line. The line is blurred, and sometimes it disappears. At the press conference, I had a hard time together with the panelists trying to decipher what was for party or what was for administration or the government. Now, I am going to share with you a clip. Please pay attention. From the very beginning, I want to draw your attention in three folds. So pay attention to the clip and then we'll do a little dissecting.
I recognize Sister Jenny Simon. I don't know what media house Simon says. I just acting general. All right, sure. Go ahead.
Citizen representing the citizen, that's always.
All right. Go right ahead.
So I'll start with you, MP Ron. How's the studies going?
Studies is going well. Master's degree plus politics is not an easy thing, and you work as hard as you can to achieve it.
Wonderful. You spoke of the press conference is party, is about party?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the achievements that especially MP Kevin Andrews spoke of in Carriacou, are they achievements of the NDC party or the government of Grenada?
They are achievements of the government of Grenada, the National Democratic Congress administration.
Okay, so then we open up now. It's of the government of Grenada. So we can move there, right?
No.
Well,
To be quite fair, it was about. I was basically talking about the promise that we made, or the campaign promises that we.
And who fulfilled the promise?
No,
The government of Grenada, right?
Just give me 1 minute. I'm just simply saying that we have a manifesto, local manifesto, and overall manifesto, and we spoke about the things that we hope to achieve. So, in celebration of the 3 years in office, we're basically saying that we have said that we are going to accomplish X if you, the people, give us an opportunity, and here we are, reporting to you 3 years later that we have delivered.
Let's not waste time on this. My question
go ahead and ask
is,
the question.
gentlemen,
Let me give
the
the answer.
achievements you spoke of, are the achievements of the NDC party or achievements of the government of Grenada?
Right. So, Sister Jenny, let me just say this. You can proceed to ask your question and we would respond accordingly.
Now, first of all, contrary to popular belief, I did not crash the press conference. You see there, it was very cordial. I was cordially invited to the mic. I was asked whom I was representing. I said, he said, Simon says. I said, yes. Simon says, I'm the people of Grenada. I'm a citizen and I'm representing the citizens cordially. Cordially. So there were all sorts of stories about me there and why I was there. One thing I did notice that was the first and the last press conference. It was supposed to be weekly, and since then we had none. Secondly, my question to MP Ron Redhead and his studies. You had his answer. Though tough because he's pursuing a master's degree and juggling that with the politics at the same time, it's going pretty good. And he was clear on that. Then thirdly, it was me trying to find the line between party and government. And you saw that struggle there. It was a struggle, but eventually we came to the agreement, at least I did, that it was about the government, the NDC administration, the government of Grenada. However, folks, my focus today is on the second point, MP Ron Redhead and his studies. Now, my question to Ron Redhead concerning his studies was deliberate and direct. I was looking for a specific answer. I had hoped that he would have told you or told us at the press conference himself that he had failed his course and was recommended for dismissal from the St. George's University, his Master's of Business Administration program. Given the option to withdraw or appeal in 5 days, which he never did. At my following episode, I reported to you that Ron Redhead was indeed dismissed from the program. Place went quiet. I heard nothing, or we heard nothing from Ron Redhead on the subject. For a couple of weeks, maybe 3-4 weeks, already gone, yeah, we heard nothing. As a matter of fact, it's more than 4 weeks. All along, there were rumors coming from his classmates allegedly stating that Mr. Redhead said he would get his master's degree by any means possible. He will get that degree. Well, I'm here to tell you today that he's well on his way to getting his degree. On Tuesday, the 15th, 2025, that's Tuesday gone, Ron was a guest on DM the PM, where a caller questioned him again on his studies and the accusations that he was dismissed. Now, pay attention to his body language as the caller spoke, and even when he answered the question. Just pay attention to his body language.
Caller online. Good evening, caller.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening,
Must
sir.
be.
Good evening.
To your guest, Ron. Before, Honorable Ron, sorry. Before the election, I have a question for Ron. Before the election, Ron was at the SGU studying. And then he went into the politics in June of 2022. And then after he became a minister, he was appointed portfolios. But after they removed him from the cabinet and said that he was going to study, and there's a lot of speculation from the opposition, a lot of comments coming from them, I would like him to clear the air on what his present situation in terms of education. Is he in a university studying presently? Because there is so much speculation. Would he clear the air, please? Thank you on that.
Thank you, caller.
Yes, caller. So yes, I am currently studying at St. George's University. I'm currently pursuing my master's degree.
Okay. Thank you, Minister.
Now, you can actually hear the nervousness or fright, if you want to call it that, in his voice, as he, for once, was a man of few words. He's not normally. He just said, yes, caller. So yes, I am currently studying at the St. George's University. I am currently pursuing my master's degree. You saw the tapping of the fingers. Tap, 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 tap. Now let me tell you, or share with you rather, why the nervous behavior. You see, Run Redhead, again, I am ahead of you. For a good couple of weeks now, maybe 3 weeks, I was reliably informed and presented with backup documents that somehow, miraculously, your grade changed from F to C. And your GPA rose to a 3.0, the lowest needed to continue your program. Folks, make sure your seatbelts are fastened. Let me get here. I have to get my glasses. And I'm going to read to you some documents that clearly shows what took place and why Mr. Redhead can boast of still being at the university studying. The MBA IB students in George's University, they run the Academic Progress Review Committee, APRC, for the School of Graduate Studies, MBA IB Progress on Wednesday, December the 18th, 2024, to review your academic performances. It was noted that you have received an F grade in the following course. And it's BUSI 898 MBA on boarding. Additionally, you have failed to achieve a cumulative grade point average of 3.0. Therefore, you are placed on academic probation in the MBA IB program. Academic probation in an internal marker placed in the student's progress file by the Academic Progress and Professional Standards Committee to serve as a warning for students who do not meet the satisfactory academic progress guidelines as stated in the student manual. As a condition of your probation, you must comply with the following. 1, you are required to remedy and pass BUSI 898 MBA on boarding course in its next offering. 2, you cannot attain any deficient F grades in the registered courses. 3, in order to raise your cumulative GPA to 3.0, listen to this, you must receive at least a B grade in any course that you take. In order to raise your cumulative GPA to 3.0, you must receive at least a B grade in any course you take, right? The committee recommends that you seek immediate guidance from Ms. Rachel Ross, your faculty advisor, and the MBA department to discuss ways in which you can achieve greater success and progress. I wish you the best in the upcoming term. Instructions to be completed by the course director, instructor, and submitted to the office of the university registrar. This change of grade from should be utilized whenever the instructor determines that one or more of the conditions specified below has been satisfied. And it's the student's last name, Redhead, student's first name, Ron, school program, GSP, course prefix, and a number, BUSI 898, course name, MBA onboarding, course credits, hours 0, course director, Rachel Ross, original grade F, date of original grade, the 6th of November 2024, new grade, P, date of new grade, 17th of June 2025. Reasons for submission of grade. Makeup resit exam for F and D, or D. That's for grades F or D. And so I said here, this is Miss Rachel Ross saying it's a makeup resit exam for F or D. Course director / instructor, Rachel Ross. Digitally signed by Rachel Ross on the date, the 17th of the 6th month, 2025. Then we have here the department chairperson, Mr. Anthony Andel. And that was also digitally signed by Mr. Andel on that day. So it went from a fail to a pass, right? Miraculously. Now, on the 23rd of May 2025, we have here Ron Redhead, MBA IB student, St. George's University. Dear Ron, the Academic Progress Review Committee, APRC, for the School of Graduate Studies, MBA IB program, met on Wednesday, May the 21st, 2025, to review your academic performance. In a letter to you dated the 6th, 2025, you were placed on academic probation, and the condition you cannot attain any deficient F grades in the registered courses. At the May 21st SGU APRC meeting, you received a fail grade F in the course PUS 1881, Research Methods. This grade represents a deficiency grade, which goes against the conditions for your current probation status. The committee therefore finds your academic performance does not meet the minimum academic standards of the program. As such, it is my unpleasant duty to inform you that you have been recommended for dismissal from the St. George's University Masters of Business Administration program. You may exercise the option to withdraw or appeal this decision by Wednesday, May the 28th, 2025, within 5 days of this recommendation for dismissal. In order to withdraw, you must log in to the university portal. Once you log in, there will be a drop-down list on the left side of the screen. Please click on the school program from which you wish to withdraw. Once the program page, there will be, once on the program page, there will be a teal bar at the top of the screen with a drop-down menu. From that menu, choose Policies and click on the link for the leave of absence withdrawal forms. Please complete the withdrawal forms, sign it electronically, and submit. Alternatively, you may request an appeal of the dismissal recommendation. If you wish to appeal this decision, you should send your appeal to the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies via email to Miss Aisha English. Your appeal should state why you have not met the criteria for satisfactory academic progress and your plans for continuing of the MBA IB program. This is page 2 of that document. Ron Redhead, May 23rd, 2025. To expedite this process, I request that you submit your appeal by 6 p.m. AST on Wednesday, May the 28th, 2025. You are also advised to consult with your faculty advisor on the decision going forward to assist with either a withdrawal appeal. If neither of these options is chosen, the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies will write a letter of dismissal to you. If you have any questions, you should send an email to, and they give the email address, and it says sincerely, and it's signed by Satisha by Desi or Bidasi. I guess Bidasi sounds more, and that is the Chair Academic Progress Review Committee. Forgive me for the pronunciation of the names. Right. So we're moving along. The next document. Instructions to be completed by the course director, instructor, and submitted to the office of the university registrar. This change, our change, or grade form should be utilized whenever instructor determines that more of the conditions specified below has been satisfied. And the student last name, Redhead, student's first name, Ron. school program, and it's cross off the GSP, right? Course prefix number BUS 1881, course name, research methods, course director, Dr. Delano D'Souza. Course credit. No, something is scratched off there, something that looks like either a 3 or a 5, and a 2 appeared, right? The original grade, F. The new grade, a C. Now, remember, the original document said that he must have gotten a B for him. It said in order to raise your cumulative GPA to a 3.0, which is the lowest you can go, you must receive at least a B grade in any of your courses, right? So now the grade changed from an F to a C. And the reasons for the submission of grade here, it says error in calculation. Now, the first one said makeup or receipt exam. And this one is error in calculation. And my friends, this one was signed by the department chairperson, and that chairperson is none other than Dr. Cullen Gilchrist. Now, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Cullen Gilchrist is an advisor to the Prime Minister and the government of Grenada. I did a program where he did a program on the Bob Report with the new president of the Public Workers Union, Miss Daisy Hazard. And he was the one introducing the new pension plan, the new SUSU plan. He was the brainchild behind that plan, and he was the one introducing that plan to us on the Bob Report. Now, Dr. Colin Gilchrist, as I said, is an advisor to the Prime Minister and the government of Grenada, and he is also the department chairperson for Mr. Ron Redhead, whose grade changed from an F to a C. We're moving on. On June the 17th, 2025, it reads, Ron Redhead, MBA IB student, St. George's University. Dear Ron, I write with reference to the letter sent to you on May the 23rd, 2025, regarding a decision by the School of Graduate Studies Academic Progress Review Committee. The decision shared was based on your academic record at the SGS APRC meeting on May the 21st, 2025. At the time of the MBA program, Academic Progress Review Committee, APRC, your spring 2025 term performance was a breach in the conditions of your probation. For the course BUS 1881, research methods, an F grade was reported by your cumulative GPA was below the minimum requirements of 3.0 for satisfactory academic progress for the School of Graduate Studies. Subsequently, for the course BUS 1881, research methods, a change of grade was received from F grade to C grade, and your cumulative GPA is now reported as above the requirements of a minimum GPA of 3.0 for satisfactory academic process for the School of Graduate Studies. Additionally, the SGS APRC was subsequently informed that you have since completed the requirements for the MBA onboarding course and your status is updated to satisfactory academic progress for the summer 2025 MBA term. The decision to be recommended for dismissal in the Master of Business Administration progress is therefore retracted. Additionally, you have fulfilled the satisfactory academic progress. Therefore, you are removed from academic probation. Ron Redhead, the 17th of June 2025. Congratulations. The committee was very pleased with your efforts and hard work to achieve this standard. Sincerely, Satesh Bidasi, Chair Academic Progress Review Committee. Folks, there we have it. Miss Rachel Raw is a Canadian living in Bolio in the Northeast, St. George, and Mr. Colin Gilchrist, of course, Grenadian, politically exposed with the NDC party. I was NDC. I worked in the Northeast. I know Ms. Rachel Ross, and I know her to be a very strong supporter of the NDC as well. And there we have it. So Mr. Ron Redhead, although going back to school, was very nervous when reporting that and very, very abrupt to the caller that called in to ask how is he going with his studies. Mind you, notice there was no, he did not withdraw, nor did he appeal, right? In the 5 days that he was given. He did not. And so after that, weeks later, ta-da, he passed his course and is moving on. Simon says we'll keep you abreast with that. But I want to ask Ron Redhead, as PRO of the National Democratic Congress, NDC, to do an investigation into the changing of the grades, of his grades, right? One by Miss Rachel Ross of Bolio, St. George's, and the other, and signed off really by Mr. Colin Gilchrist, who is, or Dr. Colin Gilchrist, might I say, right? Now, who is advisor to the Prime Minister and the government of Grenada. Mr. Ron Redhead, the Northeast, from Mungane, Northeast, St. George, the MB for the area, student of St. George's University, Masters of Business Administration program, from an F to a P, and a scratched off number to a 2, and from an F to a C, and a rise in GPA to 3.0, even though what he got was a C and what he needed was a B, right? You see, Mr. Redhead, from the very beginning, the fish started to smell. How did you end up in a master's program when you failed the bachelor's program at that same institution? Now, questions for Mr. Colin Gilchrist, the department chairperson. Now, for those of you, as I said before, who, and I'm going to say it again, who don't know, Mr. Gilchrist is advisor to the government of Grenada and the Prime Minister of Grenada. My questions to Mr. Gilchrist is, according to the document signed by Ms. Rachel Ross, course director, and reason for submission of grade was a makeup or a resit exam. And according to your document signed from Mr. Gilchrist, and the reason for submission of grade, yours is error in calculation. So somebody did a poor calculation. And so Mr. Redhead grade was changed. Information reaching me that there was no resit exam. And so then the calculation one, I can't question because it's calculation. You see, folks, these are the things. These are the things that I get and bring to you. And these are the things they want to keep undercover. And that's why all efforts are being made to get rid of Simon Says, to discredit Simon Says. Ain't gonna happen. Ain't gonna happen. Now here's a clip from Tuesday's evening. The PM, the Prime Minister was away, and they played a recorded interview. And of course, for the other part, MP Ron Redhead was the guest. And that was Tuesday, the 15th of July, 2025.
And that's a really lovely quality to have. A lot of great leaders have that quality. I could name a couple. My favorite, Obama, Nelson Mandela, Beyonce. They all have that. They don't care about criticism. And I like that you have that. So on behalf of you, I would like to tell whoever is criticizing you to go. I wouldn't tell them where to go.
Now here's another.
What motivates you to get out of bed in the morning?
To help people.
That's a good answer. You're such a good prime minister. Has anyone ever told you that?
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay, and you're handsome. Okay.
And I'm handsome?
Yes,
Yeah.
all right.
A nice old doctor told me that last night.
What?
A nice old female doctor told me that last night.
Oh, last night?
Yes.
Aw. What's her name? You remember? Okay, we'll
I
carry
have
on.
a business card with me. I'll have to go look for her name.
Okay.
Doctor? King. Dr. King, yes.
Shout out to Dr. King.
Shout out
for
to Dr. King.
For recognizing the things that your parents has done, like the good genes.
Yes.
Oh, shout out to Dr. Keane. Is Dr. Keane? Shout out to Dr. Keane. Now, I'm sharing with you some, because you need to see what you, and us, are going through, what we have to deal with, right? And it's all about show business. Bring in a big shot with an accent, and we sit down and look at that, and this is what he likes. This is what we get from the Prime Minister. He never leaves home without his photographer. We were spending to take him on all these trips wherever because he need the photo ops. If you want to get into the movies, by all means, By all means, we know you was on the Housewife of Atlanta, right? These are the things you seem to like. Then excuse us, step aside, and move on. The people will make that call democratically, right? The people will. So here's another clip where we are sent to go do research. But let's play the clip and then we'll talk about that.
So I'm not, since I live in the U.S., I'm not affiliated with any political party.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of friends on the island, and what I do want to say, I know that there are things that you're doing behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about,
Yes.
and things that you're accomplishing that a lot of people don't know about. There's always a lot of chatter, so I would implore the citizens to honestly do their research and see that you're doing really great things for the country. And again, not affiliated with any political party, but it's amazing to have someone with young and have so much vigor and so much love for the island to take it to the next century, and I think that's important. I don't think that, as, growing up and knowing what, being in the U.S. and seeing the political party, we have to do the research. We have to figure out what is best for the country. It's like, you're not coming and knocking on my door and giving me $200 for a vote. Those days should be done. Those days, we should think about the future and think about our kids and what, like everything that you just explained, it's perfect, because I would want my daughter, if she's interested in medicine, if she's interested in art, if she's interested in hospitality, that she has those options. And I think that's what's going to help the country grow if we can just figure that out. So again, congratulations on all that you're doing behind the scenes and all that people don't recognize. And I implore people to do the research before, making decisions,
So we are sent to go do the research to find the things that the Prime Minister are doing behind the scenes. So why don't you just tell us what these things are? And why do we have to go and research? If the Prime Minister is doing all these wonderful things behind the scene, why aren't these things being brought forward? Why do we have to go search for it? Right? So if we do the research, I guess we'll never know but all these wonderful things the Prime Minister is doing behind the scenes. What is even more funny about this is that the Prime Minister sat down, grinning and nodding to that hogwash and saying, yes, you're doing all these wonderful things behind the scene. Yes. Tell us what these things are. You're right there, you're sitting there. Forget what the lady's saying, and you tell us what these wonderful things are. Sound like some of them might be in pipeline. I don't know, because she said we need to go and research and we would find them. I don't know why didn't she just tell us if she knows, right? This is weird. This is some crazy stuff that I just needed for you to see that, because, I mean, the DM, the PM, I think it's fading, and the questions are repeating, they're becoming repetitive, and the answers are pay as you go, as I normally say, you're made up right there. And for the most part, mouth open word jump out, and he is putting his foot in his mouth. Putting his foot in his mouth. We'll take a quick break and come right back. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, last week I did a piece, and I'm updating my piece on Kaipo. Interestingly, you know, it's amazing that the contacts, the people that come to me, the people that call, the people who have the information, and I did that piece on Kaipo only to realize it was a drop in the bucket of what is really taking place at Kaipo. I got several calls, not one, several calls, and meeting concerning the corruption in Kaipo. Every entity, every institution, every ministry, anything connected to the NDC administration, to the government of Grenada right now in office, is loaded with corruption. It's loaded with fraudulent acts, of embezzlement at times, just blatantly. It's like they're looking at each other's bag, money bag, and which one bigger, which one heavier. And oh, you taking, I taking too. And so, none to say, well, why are you doing that? Because I see my colleague sitting next to me doing it, and why can't I? There are few persons who have stood up, who have been standing up to the corruption and refusing to be a part of the corruption, and they are being victimized and even fired, dismissed from their positions, because of course they're temporary workers. In those cases, they're temporary workers, and so the administration thinks it's okay to just let them go. It's all right. So I'll take you through some more stuff, some more corrupt practices at Kaipo. Now, Mr. Branch, as I understand it, my report on Kaipo in my last episode was just a drop in the bucket. And that you have known about the corruption that is eating Kaipo alive. That the Attorney General, Cinti Daughter, allegedly knows about it as well. And in fact, that you both are a tag team that has been covering up what's going on at Kaipo. You two are, I believe, still in Geneva on a trip representing Kaipo. And as was reported to me by staff members, they do the work, but they don't get to go to things like that, do courses, all related to their work. They don't get that luxury and that privilege. And I've been hearing of that in almost all ministries, if not all ministries and entities. The persons that are really doing the work, the persons that needs to attend these conferences, these meetings, they don't get to go to the meetings. It's always the executive, always members of the cabinet, and they might take one of their sidekicks from their ministry with them at times. The greed, the grabbing continues among you. It's like little children in a candy store. I want that one, and I want that one, and I want that one as well. You know, it's sad and it's disturbing. It's sad and it's disturbing. Here's a clip of Mr. Branch and the Attorney General and in Geneva attending the WIPO meeting.
Joseph, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Grenada congratulates you on your appointment and wish you every success as you proceed with these proceedings. We thank Director General Darren Tang and his team for their leadership and the excellent arrangements for these meetings, including the opportunity to participate in yesterday's ministerial policy dialogue. We are delighted to update you on the work undertaken in the last year. Consistent with our 2025 work plan, in cooperation with the Madrid Legal Division of WIPO, we hosted a mission in January 2025 to assess our readiness to implement the Madrid Protocol in Grenada. Following successful consultations with stakeholders, a Madrid Protocol policy for Grenada was developed and will shortly be considered for approval by the Cabinet of Ministers. My delegation is pleased to report that following the successful implementation of IPASS 4.0 and IPASS in the cloud in 2024, Grenada has significantly advanced the digitization of its industrial property records. We are in the final stages of digitization with the support of CARICOM. When the project ends in November, Grenada's industrial property data will be fully digitized. Grenada reaffirms its commitment towards the development of the legal and regulatory framework for the establishment of a system of geographical indications. In this regard, we thank WIPO for the first phase of the project for the commercialization of our origin-linked products, namely Grenada's cocoa, nutmeg, and rum, including the advances made with respect to the specifications for nutmeg and cocoa and the work done on the GI legislation. In the field of copyright, Grenada continues to celebrate the appointment of a popular soca artist, Vaughn, as WIPO's first IP Youth Ambassador for Music. Let me say that again. WIPO's first IP Youth Ambassador for Music and the first in the Caribbean. This award has not only given greater international visibility to Grenadian music, but has ignited renewed awareness of the IP and its importance to the Grenadian man on the street. Mr. Chair, Grenada takes this opportunity to invite you and all delegates here, and of course those who are not here, to our national reception on Monday, 14th July at 6 p.m. This event commemorates our 50th anniversary of independence. It should have been held last year, but we are being a small island state and susceptible to climate change. We suffered a devastating hurricane days before the assemblies were to commence. So we had to postpone our attendance here at the assemblies and the exhibition. So we are continuing now to celebrate our 50th independence anniversary. All attendees will be eligible to win a door prize for two, and that will be a return ticket to our beautiful Grenada, and this will be complements the Grenada Tourism Authority, and 7 nights accommodation at the beautiful True Blue Bay Resort. Come to our exhibition and you might just be in Grenada for 7 beautiful days and nights. On behalf of the government and people of Grenada, I place on record our appreciation to WIPO for the financial and human resources given to facilitate Grenada's hosting of the reception and exhibition, and for the opportunity to present our music, culture, and cuisine at WIPO's assembly here with 194 member states present. Very excited about this. I thank you very much.
Kaipo needs a washout. These folks, the type of things, the type of information, some of which I can't bring to you, at least not just yet. All in good time, but not just yet, right? Kaipo needs Sene and salts. The only way I can put it. How is it that Fimber Thomas is charging customers of Kaipo legal fees when he's not a lawyer? And these legal fees are going into his pocket. Yes, he might know the job because he's been working there for a while, and so he knows the system and he knows what to do. But he's doing legal work for customers when the registrar and the deputy registrar of Kaipo are lawyers, or should I say supposed to be, because right now I think they're without a deputy registrar, but we'll come to that, right? So he's charging these fees and he's keeping the monies, right? He is pocketing the monies. Monies that's supposed to go to the government coffers, where he do what he is supposed to do. They are not issuing receipts and they're keeping the cash given to them by customers. Mr. Branch, do you know that Fimber Thomas collects monies belonging to the government of Grenada and he pockets it, holding back on giving receipts to the client? And that same Fimber Thomas is allowed to make department deposits to the Inland Revenue. Now ask him about the $500 charged to a customer, 500 extra that is, for a trademark application, a case the FIU was looking into because the gentleman reported it to the FIU and it just disappeared. The gentleman said he all of a sudden had nothing from the FIU and that was the end of it. He did not receive his $500 by payback, and that was it. FIU no longer did the investigation, although they started the investigation. I have to say it was discontinued, right? And so $500 extra, $500 extra. Ask him about the $1,200 belonging to Kaipo. By extension, the government of Grenada. That was never put into the kitty. Just to name a few. Just to name a few for now. Mr. Branch, do you know that Mr. Thomas and others at Kaipo, because I'm hearing, and I would say allegedly others, I know of Mr. Thomas flat out, but I've heard from different sources that there are others who are doing that as well. And it's only obvious. He's a senior officer inside there. He can do it in plain sight. Then why can't I? Who's going to report me? Who's going to say I did it? right? The forms that are being provided for persons to do their registration, whatever little the government charges for that. And I always thought the government of Grenada, whichever one it is, and not just now, charge too little for some of these forms and processes. I mean, you do all this, you go back and forth. The one that I always spoke of was the port, when you're going on the port, and you used to have to pay, I think it was like $25, 25 cents for a form, and it's ridiculous. I think it must be gone up a little bit now, but ridiculous. So these guys find, well, okay, it's time to put up on the form, but the extra monies they keep when they charge people for the forms, even that I understand. It's happening inside Kaipo. Well, follow the leader, leader, leader. It's a case of that, right? Follow leader according to the prime minister. No, that's a case of following the leader, leader, right? Mr. Branch, was this embezzlement of the government revenue brought to your attention at any time, sir? If yes, sir, why haven't you acted on it? Notice, I haven't asked if no, because I was reliably informed that on your entry to Kaipo, that it was reported to you that the embezzlement and the fraudulent behavior, all that's going on, the corruption that's taking place inside Kaipo was brought to your attention, sir. And did you report it to your authority, who would be the Attorney General, the Attorney General's office? Did you report it to them? It was also brought to my attention that there are missing files from Kaipo. Where are these files, Mr. Branch? Is it true they are at the Attorney General's office? Files like CJ's file and the ISIS file that the former opposition leader spoke of. Remember that? Caused a lot of issues. It was going from the NDC talk show on Facebook, and the former leader of the opposition was ridiculed. Remember, he even mentioned the date of when the company was formed, was registered, should I say, the 14th, I think it was, of November 2023. Now I understand that that was correct. He was vilified for putting it out there. And then there was stories that it was a legitimate company that some lady owned and had the name ISIS in it, not related to ISIS at all, ISIS. And this is what whoever gave him the information saw and all of that. But the file, the real file, the one that he spoke of, is now sitting allegedly at the Attorney General's office. Yeah. But there is an ISIS file out there missing from Kaipo, but it was at Kaipo. It was found and it is now missing. Reliable information reaching me is that Kaipo is without a deputy registrar at the moment since October 2024. Reliable information reaching me is that the lady was removed from Kaipo, locked out of her office by the Attorney General, Sintidota. The public needs answers as to why the deputy registrar, a very competent, reliable lady, professional lady, why isn't the deputy registrar there at Kaipo anymore? Why is she not employed by the government of Grenada anymore? Very experienced, very matter of fact, can do her job well. As far as I understand it, the question is, why isn't she employed by the government of Grenada anymore? I understand from reliable sources that there is a pending court case against the government of Grenada for the dismissal of the deputy registrar. Stay tuned. Simon Says we'll keep you informed as this unfolds. I'll bring more updates in the next episode on Kaipo. We have loads, we have loads. But remember, I told you we have a guest today, and we want to give him enough time because it's a very serious matter that we have to discuss. And so we're very low with time, and we're trying to get some stuff into you before we do this interview. Plus, I was away for a few days and came back just the day before. So, you know, I'm tired. Trust me, I am very tired. I want to talk a little bit about Grenlec. I got some information on Grenlec that I think the people need to know and to follow up on, because it seems like Grenlec is in trouble. Seems like Grenlec is in trouble. At the moment, Grenlec is renting from Agrico some 10 megawatts. The operational cost close to 1 million EC dollars a month. On the way is a barge, offshore, onshore unit. So it could be offshore, it could be onshore. The workers are not sure yet because they were told they're being fed with a teaspoon, right? So this barge is on its way and to be rented by Grenlec as well, possibly a 3-year lease from an independent power producer, an IPP. Here's a letter from the CEO to its members. Now I'm going to read this from my phone. Get my glasses here. And some of the workers are very concerned. They are very concerned about their jobs and what will happen, because this badge seemed to be coming with workers as well. This is what they are picking up. Nothing has been told to them directly, but they are picking up things here and there. Dear team members, over the past several months, we've shared our intention to procure 2 new engines from Wärtsilä to provide replacement capacity for aging units at the Queen's Park Power Plant. This was in keeping with the approval granted by the Public Utility Regulatory Commission, PURC, in 2024 to procure 19.4 megawatts in replacement generator. As part of our efforts to engage team members on these matters earlier today, I met with members of our generation team earlier today. Our generation team continues to work tirelessly to ensure reliability with many of our engines near or at end of life. We deeply appreciate their commitment and the efforts of all team members across the company who are each playing a vital role in ensuring supply to our customers during this challenge period. It's described as a challenge period. As we continue to seek the most unsustainable and cost-effective path forward, we want to inform you of a strategic shift. Our majority shareholder has requested that we restart the request for proposal process to explore additional options with a view to reducing electricity prices. As a result, a new request for proposal will be issued by the end of July 2025 for the development of an approximately 50 megawatt dual fuel generation plant. This RFP will invite proposal on the both engineer, procure, and construct and independent power producer IPP models. The new generation plant will be capable of operating on a liquefied natural gas, which provides a cleaner, more efficient alternative to diesel and supports our goal for diversifying the fuel mix to strengthening energy security. To support this process, we have engaged Mott MacDonald, a multidisciplinary engineering consultancy, to assist in preparing the RFP and to conduct a comprehensive feasibility study on LNG options. Their findings, as well as the responses to the RFP, will help inform the company's decision regarding a long-term generation strategy. Simultaneously, we have been instructed by our board of directors to review the rollout of the 40 megawatts of temporary generation capacity in the weeks ahead. We are exploring two possible options, one a land-based and the other sea-based. We acknowledge that this is a change from the direction that was previously communicated. We are committed to keeping you updated as we move forward. We are also working on a plan to brief all stakeholders. Thank you again for your continued professionalism, reliance, and dedication during this time. Now, this plant is going to cost Grenlec millions of dollars again over the next 3 years. No, this is something we have to follow up. In the meantime, the workers, especially the mechanics in the plant, they want to know what will become of them and their jobs. As I said, this is a developing story, and Simon says we'll keep you up to date on what's to come. Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, Simon Says fans. I said earlier on, I have a special guest with me today, a gentleman who has been advocating on many issues, the pressing issues that are affecting us in Grenada, non-partisan, just speaking out on different matters. Let me welcome Mr. Perry to Simon Says. Perry, welcome.
Thank you much, Miss Simon. I'm very much appreciate being on your show. Thank you for having me.
It is my pleasure. Over the past few weeks, you has been very vocal on the Clozier land slippage issue. As a matter of fact, from day one, and that is weeks ago, in your capacity as a contractor / civil engineer, you spoke out on that project and the fact that vehicles were still allowed to traverse the area. And your reason, really, and I hate to have to say it, it came to pass really, that the weight was going to be too much. And so here we are today. I want you to talk to us on then, the now, and the future eventually. So let's take it from the then.
Okay, well, generally, I'd like to give you a little background of how these capital projects work to begin with, if you don't mind. Just bear with me a little.
Right. Sure. You do your thing.
Okay, then. Thank you. So generally, with these capital projects, it starts off with a design drawing, or we call it contract drawings, or you may just locally call it drawings, where these are designed by engineers. As far as I have gathered, this Clozier roadway and retaining project was actually an in-house design by the Ministry of Infrastructure, the retaining walls in particular. So what happens after the design phase, these contract documents or drawings are sent out to be tendered for bids. And whoever wins the bid, the contractor, of course, is given the job to build this in a safe manner and an actually on budget and on time manner, which of course we see that was absolutely not the case in this situation. So generally, the designers or the engineers who design the project would usually provide what we would call construction support services, or CSS. And that makes a lot of sense, especially if these are the people who design the project. It would be nice and it would be wise if they're actually in the field monitoring the project. So that way, if any problems arise or the contractor does not understand anything, then he have immediate access to a resident engineer who represents the government's interests, who can resolve any issues that comes up and can explain, and also is there to supervise and ensure that the contractor is building the project according to the contract documents or drawings. As we can see, these projects have a lot of checks and balances. So the first line of defense is the design. So if the design was done in-house, there would have been a sort of check and balances in terms of one engineer would check the other engineer, somebody review the design to ensure that everything was done. And there's a bit of cross-checking. So that's the first line of defense, to catch any problems. The second line of defense is when it goes out to the contractor. Now, An experienced contractor would then show, based on the contract drawings, that he is building this using the best means and methods of construction in his experience. The third line of defense, as we have said, is supervision, where you would have had, or supposed to have had, an engineer, a senior engineer from the Ministry of Infrastructure on site, on a daily basis, ensuring that everything that is being done in a very safe and effective manner and according to the contract documents. So the contractor himself sort of affords another line of defense, because if the contractor, in his experience, sees that something on the drawing does not make sense, or he can find a better way to get it done, or something is missing, he can make what you call an RFI, which is a request for information. And he can send that to the engineer, or he can talk to the engineer on site, the supervising engineer on site that represents the government interest, and said, look, I can do this in a cheaper way and in a better way. This is shown on the contract documents, and I don't think it's going to work, or I don't think it's effective. And the engineer can take a look at it and say, okay, well, I agree with you. Or the engineer can say, oh, I disagree with you because this may compromise safety. So the supervision is critical on these types of projects. But let's go back a little bit to the design phase, because I think some of those things were actually not done. Prior to the design phase, one of the most important things that you need is what we call a base map survey drawing, where surveyors will go out to the site or the potential site, construction site, and survey the whole area, giving you what you call a topographical survey, which will show all the elevations on the site and all the relief features on the site. One of the most important things also that will be done before the actual design is what we call a soil borings report, where a geotechnical firm that specializes in soil investigations would go on the site and do a bunch of test pits in different areas on the site. And what that does is that it gives you a full soil report and tells you all the stratas of the soil. It tells you some technical stuff like bearing capacity of the soil, which is just a fancy way of saying how much weight the soil can take from the retaining wall. So there's a lot of technical data. It also will tell you at what level the water table is in the soil. That way the constructor or the contractor can look at this information and say, oh, well, the water table is pretty high, so probably I need to pump out some water, or probably I need to divert some water, or probably I need to do some sort of effective drainage while I'm doing my construction. So that is how critical a soil borings report is. And based on what we've seen, we're kind of wondering if actually that level of due
That was
diligence
done.
was done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you here, Perry. So at which point do you know that you have to do all these testings and technical things to build a wall? Because I know, like, people putting up walls, back walls by the homes, back walls by the road, even the Ministry of Infrastructure or Ministry of Works, as it was called before. And I am assuming that most of what you just said there does not be done.
Absolutely
So
agree with you.
how do you know that you should do something like that?
Well, absolutely. In a project of that nature, that I guess they might have underestimated the complexity of the project. And I believe the engineers at the Ministry of Infrastructure, who would have had experience in doing projects like that before, hopefully, would absolutely know that a thorough soil investigation would be required, and a thorough base map survey of the site would be required for that sort of project. I mean, you're talking about 16 feet plus retaining walls. That is not a little retaining wall that you're building in your backyard or something that's 4 or 5 feet. You know, this is a massive retaining wall. And just to give you an idea, in this case, that 16-foot retaining wall has a footing that's 14 foot wide. So that is a massive retaining wall. So any engineer worth his his weight will actually know that you have to do a thorough soil investigation, and you have to have a proper survey to get this done. And this, as I said previously, the soil investigation would give you some engineering technical details that you will have to use in your design of the retaining wall. So without the soil investigation, you'll be like a guy, looking for a penny in a very dark room.
Yeah. But do you know if that was the original wall size of the wall and so, or if that happened after the slippage and it became worse?
No, no,
Is
no,
it
no.
the
Based
same?
on the height, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, could you go ahead?
Yeah, no. But based on the height, I believe that was the original intent. The only difference,
Okay.
as was mentioned by, I think it was a site supervisor. I saw a clip that the site supervisor said that originally, I think it was just about 100, a little over 100 feet of retaining wall. That's just the linear feet of retaining wall. But they had to increase it because, again, when they saw what was happening on the site, they figured they had to go a little further up. And they also mentioned because of the massive excavation that they did, they realized that that would have compromised the gentleman's house on the slope. So I don't know if you saw a clip, but the site supervisor said additionally that the Ministry of Infrastructure suggested that they needed to put a wing wall at the bottom of the slope where the
I have
gentleman's
that clip.
house was located. Yeah,
I have that
yeah.
clip, so let's play that clip and let's hear him.
I'm Kishan Gittens, foreman / supervisor on Fari Construction Company, FCSL.
Give us an appreciation of where we are and the reason that you all signed a contract here in the first instance.
Well, in the first instance, we came up here to do 110 feet of wall to protect the road because it was slipping, right? And box drain on the next side of the road because of the water that was soaking through the road, right? So initially we came up here to do 110 feet of road, roughly around 22 feet high.
And during the process, explain to us further how your project expanded.
Okay, so during the process, right, when we start cutting, we realized that we had to go deeper than initially had to go. So in that process, we realized that the road started slipping more. So we had extended on the wall to cover the area that's slipping, and that is the reason why we reached closer to the house that is in now. But we come up with a solution to protect the house through the ministry. We came and we shelving the wall, and we're gonna put a wing wall to protect the house.
In your excavation works, did you identify any of the contributing factors for the slippage of the land?
Yes, well, when we start cutting, we realize that the area up here, you have a lot of springs. So anybody who know Clozier area, they're gonna know that this area up here, you have a lot of springs. So when we start excavating, we realize that where we start cutting on the top side of the road, you have a spring water soaking through, and that was causing the land to slip. So that is why we had to go deeper with the cutting of the road. So we end up now with a greater challenge on our hand where you have a house involved, right? But the experience we have through the ministry, we came up to a solution yesterday where we're gonna shelve the area and we're gonna put a wing wall to protect the house. And if anybody know what they call the gabion basket, we're gonna put a gabion basket there so the water, what is in the land, because of the mold that is there, it's gonna take out all the water in the land. So you're gonna protect the house.
Okay, that was that what he just said. They make me realize that no test was done before, because he said it's when they start to cut the soil, that's when they recognize that there was springs in the soil.
You're spot on, Miss Jennifer. You're spot on because, and that's why it is so critical, as we're, previously said, for you to do a thorough subsurface investigation via boring logs, and for you to have a proper base map survey of the entire area. Because then the designers would have realized that, hey, if we're excavating at the lowest slope, this may impact the upper slope. And then there's a property on the upper slope. So the designers would have taken that into consideration and would have had some sort of contingency plan to ensure that this man's house is not affected, like staying a certain amount of feet away from the man's house in terms of the excavation,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
alternatively providing some sort of temporary support to the slope behind the man's house, even if you're going to excavate and provide a long-term solution in terms of a retaining wall, which also, since we're at that point, is something that is critical and should have been employed in the lower slope. So if you want me to get into the whole sort of unfortunate oversight, an unfortunate mistake that was
Yeah,
made, we can get into
just
that.
just my observation, because when you saw the road, when it was just broken before they even started the work, you barely could have seen the house. There were a lot of bushes and shrubs and so barren the house. You barely saw the top of the house. But after they did the excavation, they went right up under the house.
Absolutely. Well, as you know, Miss
And
Jennifer, I mean, and this is common knowledge. I think every primary school kid who would have done earth science, or every high school kid who would have done geography, understands, from the basic geography, that if you excavate and you remove the vegetative cover from the soil, indeed what you're doing is that you're exposing the soil to the elements, and the soil is now more vulnerable to erosion. I mean, that is not rocket science, and anyone who is in this line of business should have understood that that is the case. I actually warned about the same thing on the Molyneux project. Once you excavate, it is critical after excavation and you expose the soil that you cover the soil with some sort of geotextile material, or something like just seeding the soil with grass can be used. But once you excavate, you have to protect the soil after excavation. As a matter of fact, there's a rule of thumb. Anytime you're excavating above 5 feet, it's standard practice, you absolutely need some sort of temporary shoring or support system to the soil. This is critical, just not only to support the soil, but it's for the safety of the workers who are employed during the construction, to prevent cave-ins and stuff like that. That's one of the more critical things that needs to be considered.
good. Okay, so take us further.
Well, I think we've had some little schematics which we can actually help your audience understand, from the existing conditions to the final conditions that were supposed to be proposed and the retaining wall built. So what we're going to do, if you can pull up that slide, that schematic, which shows the existing condition before the actual excavation and stuff started. Okay, so in the existing situation, and there you see that car on top of the existing roadway and embankment. Now, it's quite obvious, if a car is moving over the embankment and the roadway, what's happening is that that car is applying vertical downward pressure on the roadway. And of course, there's also to consider the weight of the soil itself. That has a downward pressure. So you have the downward pressure of the weight of the soil. In addition, you have vehicles moving over the roadway, which adds additional pressure. Then, it's quite obvious that the soil will expand and try to move outwards, right? That's just a natural phenomenon. Once the soil starts to move outwards, what would happen? There's an interaction in the soil particles, which will try to hold the soil together. But then there comes a time where the weight is so overbearing that the soil particles cannot hold themselves together as much. So they suddenly fail. And that is exactly what happens. They usually fail at a 45-degree angle. So if you look at the site and all the videos and pictures from the site, you would see the soil failing at a pretty much at a 45-degree angle, which is it's called shear failure of soils. All right. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you also notice in the second slide where I'm actually telling you what should be done, you would see that the retaining wall is being built. Even in the videos, you can see that the retaining wall is being built away from the embankment. So there's absolutely nothing holding the soil in place. The retaining wall is being built over here, but you needed something
Yeah.
to hold the soil in place in the meantime. There's a gap between the retaining wall that's
Okay.
being built over here and the existing roadway embankment. And that is why you would see in the second slide, there's a suggestion of a temporary shoring system. Now, this system, you can use a sheet piling system. I mean, these are especially used when you're building marine structures, like close to the water, so you can support the soil while during construction. Or you can use something that's called a soldier pile and lagging wall system, where you would use some very long H piles or I beams. Probably in this case, probably would have been like 45-foot long, and you can knock them in to the side of the embankment or roadway at every 5 feet, and in between that you will drop some wood lagging, and that will create a system along the whole face of the roadway that would actually serve to hold the roadway up while the retaining wall, the permanent retaining wall, is being built. If that was done, then traffic could have safely traversed the area without the road collapsing, even if there was water in the area. As you can tell, there's been much to do about, oh, well, the water or water main broke, and that was responsible for actually the cave in or the slippage. But quite to the contrary, and we're going to dispel that myth today, it's actually the other way around. It's because the soil settled because it was not supported. That is why it actually broke the pipe underneath the roadway. I mean, it's obvious. If the soil is not supported and it moves, it's going to break the pipe that is located under it. And that is exactly what happened. So that, of
Oh.
course, waterlogged the soil. And because there was no temporary shoring, then it was a goner. It was obvious it was going to fail. However, if that temporary shoring, as shown in the schematic, was in place, even if the water pipe broke, it would waterlog the soil, but the soil will have nowhere to go, so it would be
Oh.
held in place by that temporary shoring. It's pretty effective. I mean, that is just standard practice. Anytime anytime you're doing that sort of means and methods of construction, you have to temporarily support the soil, and then you can build a retaining wall safely. And it's also a safety issue for the workers that are actually working on the
On the
retaining
job.
wall. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary for you to be working on a retaining wall in the bottom of a slope, and a slope 16 foot high is hanging over your head. God forbid
Right.
something happens and it comes down, you're in a hell of a lot of trouble. Fortunately in this case, that was not, that didn't happen. So thank God that didn't
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Mm-hmm.
So the temporary shoring again that's another reason in terms of safety for holding that embankment and roadway in place so that the workers are not endangered by any such slippage. A matter of fact, if you see one of the schematics that I've shown, it was quite possible, because the roadway was not supported, that a vehicle could have been passing by and a sudden collapse could have taken place. And if that sudden collapse had taken place and that car had tumbled over, it would have fell on top of the guys working in the bottom under
My Lord.
the permanent retaining wall. So it's quite obvious, why temporary shoring was actually the way to go on that project. Unfortunately, it wasn't done, and unfortunately, if there was proper supervision, they should have called for it. If they came on the site and they see a retaining wall was built, traffic was moving through the area, and there was no temporary support to the roadway and embankment, immediately, they should have put a stop to the work and call for that temporary support. That is just how these sort of situations are handled. I mean, this is just normal construction practice. So there's nothing, major we're asking here, or we're deviating away from. That's just standard practice in construction. And I'm sure there are people in Grenada who are very versed in this sort of thing and understands this sort of thing. This is not the first time we're building retaining walls, right?
Well, probably not that high, maybe not that with all those problems with the water and so I have no idea. But do you know if they have put that shore in right now?
I doubt it. And that is why you would have seen that over a week ago there was a temporary settlement of 3 to 5 inches. Now recently I saw some vids, and you're looking at 3 to 5 feet of
Yeah.
settlement, and it will continue to move. The soil will continue to fail again because there's nothing holding it back in place. You know, I mean, again, as we've said, the vegetative cover was removed. There's no temporary shoring. If that man's house was temporarily shored, his house would not have failed. And I could imagine the sort of situation he finds himself. It must be heartbreaking.
So what is stopping them from doing the temporary showing? Why aren't they taking
Well,
that
I think
heed?
this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 I'm done. Why are they not taking heed?
Well, the thing about it, I think they didn't understand the gravity of the situation. Um, people just think that soil would just remain in place if you leave it to its own devices. That's not the case. I mean, you look around. I mean, it's funny. I mean, we've seen a lot of slides before where, I mean, the whole western side, every time a rain falls, slopes collapse. So this is not nothing new. This is something that we should be very familiar with. And all more of the reason why we should have contingency in place to take care of it. You know what I'm saying? Um, I think at this stage also panic may have set in and disbelief, and quite possibly they didn't think that this would have gone as far as it did. But yeah, this is what happens to unsupported soils and slope. They fail. Yeah.
So what now?
Well, what now? Because of the dangers, I mean, have you seen the site recently? It's dangerous. I mean, I've seen some people visit the site. I've seen, the opposition leader visit the site. I thought it was ill-advised because it's a very precarious situation. It's looking like it's okay. I've seen situations where families are they hanging out with their kids and stuff like that. That is something
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
totally unadvisable. Because I tell you, it may look stable, but soils sometime, especially with all the water logging and stuff and all the rain and being beaten down by the elements, they can fail suddenly. So someone could be standing on top of the soil and it could just reach its failure limit and just collapse.
Collapse.
And I hope
Yeah.
there would be some sort of advice that that site should be cordoned off. No one should pass through the area, especially kids. I've actually warned about
Absolutely.
that. It's heartbreaking to see
Yeah.
kids passing through the site for more, I mean, multiple reasons. There's so many opportunities to get hurt. And as I said, probably cordon off the site. And if they're professional people who can, I'm sorry, who can attempt to take care of this, but it requires a lot of critical work right now. I mean, the lower slope can be salvaged, but at this stage, it's very difficult for the upper slope and the man's house. I think we waited too long to do something to protect the house. If it was done like, let's say, if it had been done over a week ago when there was like a 3 to 4 inch settlement, yeah. But now we've excavated so much at the bottom of that slope where the man's house is perched. I mean, have you seen? It's like a 14-foot.
Yeah.
There's like a
Yeah.
14-foot wide ditch. At one time, it was
Mm-hmm.
filled with water. I mean, which is not a problem. Of course, you could pump the water out, but there's nothing supporting the slope where that man's house is perched. And as you can imagine, that house is a massive house. It adds weight on the soil. And again, as we said, if the soil is not held in place and there's so much weight being added to the soil, um, it's just obvious it's going to fail. It's not
Well,
anything, mysterious.
well, parts of it start tumbling down already. The step and all of that, uh, that has already came down.
Yeah, yeah. And left to its own, I mean, there's nothing. It's just going to get worse. I mean, I think what the contractors were banking on, they may have in their minds understand that the retaining wall is a permanent fix. And that's true. The retaining wall is a permanent fix. It's a long-term fix. When it's built and in place, it will be able to support the soil. But the problem is what should have been done in the meantime. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
problem. And that's something that should, I mean, again, as I said, this is standard practice. If you're building a permanent retaining wall, there must be temporary shore. I mean, that's just a given. I mean, it's just, I mean, looking at it, you can tell it's a given, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So Barry, just in wrapping up, tell us what can be done now.
Well, as I said, it's a dangerous construction site. First and foremost, you have to protect lives, the lives of the people working on the site. I mean, that's paramount. I'm very concerned about the guys who are working on the site, especially where things are not temporarily shored and the soil is still slipping, it's still failing. It will come a time where the soil cannot hold back anymore and it will totally fail. And God forbid, especially on that proposed wing wall that they're planning to build underneath the house, at the bottom of the house. I mean, that's a very precarious situation there. And I really would not like to see guys working in the bottom there um, on that footing for that retaining wall and that whole slope collapses on top of them. I mean, that's a very, very, very much a possibility. And if that happens, if that slope and mud collapses on them, I am telling you, there's nothing you, Miss Simon, or I can do to save them. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine how quick, soil fails. It will totally engulf them and cover them. And God forbid that happens. That would be a very tragic thing. So this is something that again, I highly recommend that the site be cordoned off. No one should be passing through that site. And professionals who know exactly what they're doing. There's opportunity still to temporarily show the lower slope. I think at this stage, their figuring is just going to fail. And again, there's this concept of passive pressure. So the bottom roadway and embankment was actually holding up the upper slope also. We're sort of leaning against it. So now that the bottom roadway and embankment has failed, there will be continued failure of the upper slope on the side of the road because there's nothing to hold it in place. You see what I'm saying? So it's like a domino effect. That's why
Yeah.
it's slipping so fast and it's moving so quickly. So
You have
that's
spoken to
the
the
ultimate
CTO, right?
recommendation.
You have spoken to the CTO. He has your number.
Well,
So if
I'll
they
prefer to
need, if
refrain
they
from saying, but let's put it this way. I gave advice to the appropriate people. Let's just put it that way.
right, yeah, okay,
Unfortunately, those were not heeded. I felt it was a civic duty to actually give advice to the appropriate people.
right,
And
right.
unfortunately, that was not heeded. I think again, no one um, really understood the gravity of the situation. No one thought it would have moved so fast, but that is soil. I mean, that's massive. Just to give you an idea, and to give your followers an idea of the weights of the soil. So you see that embankment where the house is perched and where they're planning to build a wing wall. Now
Mm-hmm.
every foot, just imagine every foot, and let's just do an area of 50 foot by 50 foot and depth 1 foot. So based on soil weight, an area 50 foot by 50 foot by a depth of only a foot, okay? By a depth of
Okay,
only a foot weighs 250,000 pounds, Miss Jennifer. That's just 1 foot,
wow.
50 by 50,
Mm-hmm.
and a depth of 1 foot. Now, if you look at that where the house is perched, I mean, you're looking at probably 30 feet or something like that. So you're talking about, and this may sound incredulous, but you're talking about at 30 feet, you're talking about over 7 million pounds of material. Yeah,
Wow.
for a 50 foot by 50 foot area, 30 feet deep,
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at over 7 million pounds of foot, pounds of weight. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
God forbid, half of that slides and falls on the guys working below. It would be a tragic situation. So that is at this stage, I'm less interested in, we all know who's responsible. It's quite obvious, this, please understand that with all these checks and balances that we talk about that are usually in place on project like this, when something like this happens, it represents systematic failure throughout the whole system, because
Yeah.
of the checks and balances that should have been in place, somebody should have catch something. So it means there was a system-wide failure on this particular project, unfortunately, and yeah, it'd be
Just just
a
just
lot.
one thing before you leave, the walkway for the pedestrians. Do you think that's ill-advised?
Oh, that's absolutely, absolutely ill-advised. Again, as I've said just a second ago, any pedestrians traversing the area is totally, totally something that should not be done. No one should pass through that site, especially in the condition that it is in right now. It's not. It would be very unwise to continue doing that. I mean, look. I mean, they made a makeshift walkway, right? And if you notice,
Yeah.
it has already collapsed because there's nothing. The soil continues to collapse. So the walkway is sitting on soil that is failing. So if the soil fails, the walkway has been compromised already. I don't know if you're seeing that, but it's really not a good idea
Yeah,
at
I
all.
saw I saw I think from the second day it was dropping.
Because the soil is failing pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it's not something, I don't know, whose idea it was, but as much as
Any last words?
there's a urge, and it's so inconvenient, and people, I'm sure they have their daily lives, and I can understand the tragic consequences to their finances and stuff like that. But please just understand that your life is more important than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So any last words?
Uh, just what we said. Get the heck off that site. No one should be
Yeah.
passing through the site. And
Yeah.
I'm deeply concerned about the construction workers on the site. So I hope everybody's thinking about them. These are hardworking guys, and they go out to make some money for their families. And it would be tragic that they get hurt. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So these are some things that the appropriate people who are in charge should consider.
Hmm. So, Perry, thank you so much for coming on. I got a better insight of what is really happening there. And so I hope that most persons who are listening and the relevant persons will take note and take heed of your
Yeah, well,
advice today.
absolutely. I hope that is the
Yeah.
case. I mean, thank you for having me on, and to try to give a little bit of clarity on this situation. I mean, that's just amazing what you're doing. Please continue to do what you're doing so that you can bring
Thank
good
you.
content and add a lot of clarity to what's taking place. I mean, I'm sure your audience would appreciate it, and Grenadians in a whole should appreciate
Yes.
you for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
having me on.
Thank you for
Yeah,
coming. Thank you for sharing. And continue to do what you're
absolutely.
doing as well.
I'll try. Sometimes difficult because no one listens, to their own detriment and to the detriment of
Yeah.
our people.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I will. I'll do it. I'll take the heat for it. I'll take one for Grenadians. Thank you again, Miss
Okay.
Simon,
Bye
and
bye.
keep.
Bye bye. Take care. Folks, that was Perry, civil engineer. And we want to thank him for coming on and sharing with us his profession, really. We'll take a quick break and come right back.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.
Welcome back. Welcome back. So Simon Says has a few pointed questions to ask. What was or is the Ministry of Infrastructure's role in this project? Who is the engineer on the project? Or was there an engineer at all? What study was done? What testing was done to the soil? Was any testing done, any study done? It's important to note that there's a difference between a contractor and an engineer. I mean, basic English. Who supervised the work from the Ministry of Infrastructure? Who was a person from the Ministry of Infrastructure supervising that job? Because in my mind, what this supervisor on the job, because there was no contractor there anyway, thought, or the contractor thought he was sending his men to do, was to build a back wall. Just and as regular, you said the piece of road break off, you send somebody break to build a back wall, and I think that was what they thought. But with the excavation and the soil starting to move, that's when they realized it was much more than that. In Grenada today, a mason is a contractor, a carpenter is a contractor, an electrician is a contractor, Palmer is a contractor. So I heard the minister of MIT said on some of the jobs there are 4 and 5 contractors, and he listed electrical guy, plumbing, and that sort of thing. And that's why we are where we are today, especially with that project, because the persons in charge don't know what they're doing and saying wrong things and doing wrong things out there. We seem to be having infrastructure problems lately coming from that Ministry of Infrastructure. Well, Ministry of MIT and infrastructure seem to be one of the same these days. We had issue with widening of the Granitang Road. There was already land slippage from that project. Of course, we had issues with the Molyneux Road. Remember, they took down the mountain and had to send and call back the Reno people from St. Lucia. Remember, lest you forget, when they came in, they dismissed them. And the Minister of MIT said they had engineers throughout Grenada that they can use. Well, those engineers juked down the mountain and the thing started to come along on them. So they had to stop, and then they had to bring back the Reno people from St. Lucia. We have the Willis project, and that project is probably almost 3 years old. We had the villagers complain, the minister trying to save face. The people asked for the prime minister. The prime minister went, instead of talking when and telling the people when and how they're going to fix the road, he started to talk about the previous administration and the design and all of that crap, right? Instead of getting serious and getting the right persons to finish the road. And to date, that road is still unfinished. There's the Clark's Court Road. Started with a big boost, everybody happy. To date, they have not finished the Clark's Court Road. And the worst part of it is what is undone. True Blue Road Project. Well, we're not going to talk, or should we talk about the Cliff Road Project? It's an abortion, you know, and don't forget, the minister for MIT signed off on that project for a bribe. When the prime minister was away and left him as acting prime minister, he took a bribe of $115,000, 100,000 cash, and 15,000 to fix his pickup truck, his white Isuzu pickup truck, T4254. That 15,000 was part of the bribe in exchange for the Cliff Road contract. And today, we are seeing the government of Grenada, the Ministry of Infrastructure, has part ways with the contractor. Needless to say, the advisor, and one of the advisors to the Ministry of Infrastructure, Mr. George, Rodney George, claimed that everything was above board, that the contractor won his bid fair and square, that he gave them a little something off. Well, folks, that little something was $2 million off. All of that just to get the job, I guess. But how can you take a discount of $2 million and expect to finish the project? How can the Ministry of Infrastructure allow that? Because if someone, it's not 2,000, it's not 20,000, it's not even 200,000, $2 million off a project. And they expect the job to finish? So who's to blame here? Who's to blame here? Right? So we have all these issues. As we speak, the project is nowhere close to be finished. It was supposed to be an 8-month project. It's going on 2 years. And nowhere close to finish. The inconvenience it's causing for the people, right? So the Prime Minister said bribery is a crime, and lately he seemed to have moved away, or is moving away, from the minister who took the bribe, who was the designated acting Prime Minister. You see, three travels now of the Prime Minister, and he was not left to take the place of the Prime Minister. He was not left as acting Prime Minister. While I'm here, Simon says, appreciate the start of the cleaning of the drains in Montrouge and the maintenance of the ones in Tantine. I must say I do appreciate that. Tantine is kept, and I hope that Montrouge will be kept as well. However, something has to be done about that by road that separates the field from courts and the mall, and so that new piece of concrete road that was done, it was botched. It was a botched job. And so something has to be done, because even when it drizzled, the place is flooded. And I saw it, and I spoke about it. I've known none more construction, but I saw that there was no drainage, just a little slope for the water to slide down to where. And so it's a concern of not just me, but a lot of the nation's people, that monies are being wasted because it's being let go in Andy Williams's hand in the Ministry of MIT, who doesn't know what he's doing. The gentleman is supposed to be an accountant and is in all these money problems. He knows nothing about being a contractor. And he's given all these jobs. But it's about the money. It's about the money. And so, as we say, follow the money. Folks, the level of corruption and nepotism within the administration is alarming. Corruption has consumed the housing projects. Millions spent. Housing few, but they're quoting millions spent. Conditions on the island of Carriacou and Petit Martinique remain dire. It's a year gone since burial, and people are still living in inhumane conditions. And those were the words used by the member for Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs at that press conference, the infamous press conference. He said he knows that there are those who are still living in inhumane conditions. Why? And you're spending $20 million, according to the Minister of MIT. $20 million was spent in Carriacou, 40 in Grenada, and that's just for 2025. Why? And Carriacou was totally damaged, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Well, as for Petit, many are homeless. 1 year later and counting, and persons are still living in inhumane conditions in Carriacou and Petit Martinique and here on mainland. The few persons who got homes got damaged up north, quite a few of these people are still. I know of a man who's living in a shop, an abandoned shop. I have a friend whose roof went, still have bricks on it. I brought a lady to you. I brought a narrative to you about a lady in St. Patrick a few weeks ago, right? It's a year later. It's a year later. And so we're hearing about the millions spent, few houses. What was the millions spent on? Where's the money? We've let go our money purse to a thief. I mean, how is that possible? I'm lost for words. How is that possible? And we're calling on the government to investigate the bribery one more time. Well, I'm going to do it every week. I promise you I do that. I will. Until we get results. And not just there, from the Lottery Authority as well. And everywhere else the corruption is festering. It's festering. But a better Grenada is possible. It's possible. Folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of Simon Says. It's always a pleasure conversing with you, trying to keep them honest. Thank you for viewing yet another episode of Simon Says, where facts come first. I'm your host, Jenny Simon. See you next week, same time, same place. Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to Simon Says. To ensure that you never miss an episode, click subscribe and make sure to turn on the notifications by clicking on the notification bell icon. See you at the next episode.